So what we were talking about again, just this idea of open play spaces, minimal constraints, or not constraints, but minimal equipment, minimal direction. Really, it's like creating just areas that are open to the imagination, like to making kids be bored or not providing them with exactly what they are supposed to be doing, so that they figure out what they want to do. So when you watch the documentaries and look at the research, it does definitely skew towards this idea of adventure playgrounds, pretty much junkyards, right, where things are super super dangerous but are still dangerous enough that they can kind of push it. Kids need that kind of stuff. Like, I was walking over to the pedestrian bridge on Monday, the Bob Carey Bridge, with my partner's 4-year-old and my partner, and we were we were talking, and he kept asking about like stuff, and it's got the big safety wall essentially, right? The mesh that you can look through it. And before we knew it, he had climbed to the top of it and was leaning over. After like we just spent 10 minutes talking about how you would die probably if you fell from that height. But he just wanted to see what it felt like to get up that high. Like, this kid also climbed onto the roof of her house at one point. He's 4. He does these things. Yeah, he doesn't think anything of it. He's not afraid of anything. This child. But kids need that. They need to push themselves. They need to figure those things out. If they don't, they get really frustrated and are very difficult to deal with. But Noguchi would make these really open spaces. You can kind of see these models that he made for a lot of this stuff. The paintings. There we go. This one big model, let's see if we have a good picture here. You can definitely see that these are more landscapes than anything else, right? And it's not like he needs to be able to point to each of these and be like, research shows that this kind of a shape is great for kids. No, it's just that, like, through observation and intuition and feeling, he's making spaces that seem like to be a lot of fun to play around in, to just like exist in. And then he's trusting that the kids themselves, and like in Daphne, like in your example, are going to come up with something, because they will. You just have to trust. And I think that like that tendency of adults to trust kids to make their own decisions has really gone away. I often will let my kids be bored. Like on the weekends, my kids will come to me and be like, I don't know what to do, I'm bored. I'm just like, I don't care, figure something out. Here's a box of just random stuff. Figure it out. And I mean, like, freeform building stuff, building toys are great. Like my kids, do you guys know what Kinects are?
Yeah.
Yeah, you will.
I have a bunch of them at home.
I have tons. So Kinects are these.
It's awesome.
They're not as popular as they used to be, at least not here. But they're just these random building toys you can make all kinds of different stuff with. So I have a lot of them because I used to make sculptures with them.
People make insane stuff with that.
Yeah, I used to make these installations that moved and had sound. This might be kind of loud. Yeah. And so I just have buckets and buckets. I mean, it's literally tubs of this stuff and I just have them out in my apartment. And my kids just go through it and they put stuff together. And my 4-year-old made this giant spaceship. He's really into spaceships right now. And then he made like a mothership. He made this big one, and then he made all these other little ship shapes that like slot into it. And then he made another one that was like I have these, like army men tanks, like these plastic tanks that were part of an installation a decade ago. And they were also in the box. And he made a Kinects like super tank to go around the little tank. Just one day, like, he asked me for help a couple of times, like on figuring out how to get some stuff together. But for the most part, they're just building this stuff. They're just, especially with like the motors, we're able to make things that move on their own. By hooking up wheels, and we figured out that because I have wood floors, that rubber bands, that we should use rubber bands to get traction to make tires, essentially. So we just wrapped a bunch of the wheels in rubber bands. You get, yeah, it's just free play, right? So I think like keep that in the back of your mind as you're designing spaces, right? As you're designing these play spaces. The other thing to think about too is that they can be for adults and kids. There's a hand crank for these other ones. So for that one, there's I forget where the hand. I think the hand crank's on the other side, but you could crank it and make it work by yourself. Anyway, yeah. So these were fun to do. I kind of miss doing them still. But, so yeah, I think just opening stuff up for kids. Um, like a lot of the early climbing equipment is like Noguchi stuff is, in particular because he's trying to make it look really interesting and beautiful. But there's some old steel jungle gyms. Let's find them. These things. Oh, this is what I was thinking of. These that are just amazing. Like sculpturally, they just like as a shape and a form, fascinating. Even these things, I remember these from when I was a kid. I don't see them around a whole lot anymore. But this kind of stuff is better. Here's the merry-go-rounds. This kind of stuff, in my opinion, is better than this kind of stuff. But having nothing, like having just a big open space and a couple of things to use in that space that maybe even the kids bring. So just keep it open. Really think about what you enjoyed as a kid. Yeah, here we go. That looks awesome. Alex, what sort of thing did you like the most as a kid?